Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Zoning Commission meeting of July 8, 2009. Let the record show all members are present. This time I'd open up the floor for public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on any topic not on the agenda, please come forward. No one wishing to comment. Public comment period is closed. Everybody has a copy of the minutes in their packet.
We were just
Revised,
given
yes.
some new minutes.
Right, the new revised minutes were
Can you tell us
handed out.
what's the revision?
There were actually several that, you want me to do it? Okay. I just asked that under number 3 on the public comment period last month, Ricky shared with us the master plan, and he stated that we would be able to see something preferably within 12 to 15 months, and I just thought that would be nice to have on public record so that if people asked, it was there, rather than constantly asking, we could say it's on public record. It's the, you know, if somebody questioned.
Good
The other
catch.
one was just, they were real minor about who seconded things and who made motions. I'm sorry?
No, I have a problem with that too. Who seconded the thing?
Yeah, numbers were wrong. The original should have had numbers to 10, and it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 7, 6. So that was just, yeah. And then under zoning committee report, number 7, the original states that there was a meeting in July, but it was actually June. So that was it.
All right.
Also, there's 2 corrections need to be made to the amended minutes.
Right.
One,
There
the
you go.
correct spelling of my name, and that's been constant for the last several months. And 2, I believe under number 8, Mike Marshall made the motion, and every commissioner seconded it. So I would make a motion to approve the minutes with those 2 corrections.
A second.
All right, we have a motion to accept revisions to the revised minutes. Have you got those, Patrice? All right. Any opposition? All right, motion carries. Bob, yeah. Item number 5, old business, historical overlay ID 1535.06, investment Ascension Properties LLC. Yes, sir.
My name's Brent Dufresne. I'm president of First National Bank USA. We have this office here in this parish. I don't know where the communication broke down between my staff or Danny Watts. I noticed that Danny Watts was on the agenda and he was supposed to. Danny Watts was just a real estate agent that assisted us in buying the property 2.5, 3 years ago, whatever it may be. Whatever communication that has been coming through to the bank didn't get to me. That's why I'm probably here tonight. It finally got to me, and I apologize to you on that. We were given a 2-year permit to put from the time the permit was issued. Well, when we went to the state to get a permit to put a driveway in, we were within so many feet of an intersection. It took a year for the state to finally grant us a permit and get a contractor to come in. So we were already a year into it when we bought a modular building. It's a steel frame, hurricane-proof building, and put on the location. We built all of the parking lots, all of the driveways for a permanent building. We were working on a permanent building until the slump in the economy came. Our federal regulators told us to stop. Don't spend any money on any permanent buildings right now until the economy picks up. So we're there in this modular building that, we can finish it out any way you request. I just need guidance as to what you want. I'm kind of caught cold. I just talked to Lance about 2 weeks ago about all this, and I didn't have plans to give it to architect, engineer, so I just, need to see what can we do. We can't move forward and build a $3 million building right now with the economy in a slump. It's in. The building is very adequate. We build in this area probably 150 to 200 houses a year. So we're a vital part of this economy.
All right, thank you.
Anything
Questions,
else?
comments?
Lance, who have you been communicating with on this all along?
Mr. Brandt, and I've also spoke with at one time, it was I guess, who was at the Perryville office. I'd have to flip through and see exactly, and that person, when I called, I spoke to a female, and the person I asked for said did not work there anymore. And I spoke to that lady I guess it was the manager of that bank, and said she would get with Mr. Brandt, and I have spoken with Mr. Brandt through the last few months.
Just recently,
I guess, Mr. Brandt, here's my take on it.
This is Mr. Dufresne.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dufresne. As far as the bank is concerned,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. With respect to the bank, I mean, it's the bank's obligation to maintain its permits in good standing. And it's not the parish's obligation to chase after you or to go pleading with you to respond to us and what have you.
Fully
I mean,
agree with you.
This thing expired quite some time ago, and we heard nothing from anybody.
Yeah, I apologize for that. There's no question there's a breakdown somewhere in my chain of communication. It didn't get to me. I'm the president of the bank. It stopped on somebody's desk, wow.
But you were aware the permit was only for 2 years. You knew that was expiring, so it behooved you to contact us and ask for an extension, and I think you thought it would just go away if you didn't say anything.
No, I didn't think that. We just had so many things in the economy right now that the desk it was on didn't make it all the way up to my desk, and I was kind of surprised that action wasn't taken. When it finally got, and I finally talked to Lance, I said, wow, what can I do?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but I think the commission, in light of no response to all the notices, we pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much directed you to notify them that the permit has lapsed and expired. And, whether you have a compelling reason to get a new permit or not, I think that's something that's subject to you submitting an application and what have you. But I don't know that, I mean, we've already made a decision that your permit's expired. In my mind, that's what's happened. It's done, it's lapsed, and we've actually directed staff and legal to initiate the process of having the temporary building removed. So, I mean, if you're so inclined to submit an application, go through the process, and provide some of the justification that you explained, bank regulators told you can't do it, whatever the circumstances are that may be extenuating, that's a new application, a new process, but I don't know, and that's just no commitment. I mean, nobody's making a promise to you. I just think that personally, that's what I think you need to do. I may be wrong, but I rely on legal and staff to say, but in my opinion, and what I view that we've done over the last few months is, for lack of a response, is permit's done, it's completed, it's done for, nobody came and asked for an extension, and we directed staff to begin the process of having the trailer removed. Staff? Lance, Ricky?
Tony did you send out a letter?
I believe that's probably the reason he's here.
Where did you send it? I don't think I.
And who did you address it to? I would be curious about that.
The registered agent in the Secretary of State is Gary Mendoza, and I sent 3 letters to him that were signed.
Okay.
I sent them to all addresses that were in the Secretary of State website.
What are they at?
have a Highway 90 Booty address, I have a Belterra Road Marrero address, and I have a P.O. Box in Booty, and they were all signed by him.
Okay, Booty Box is the only valid one. Highway 90 is a non-mail delivery?
It was signed by
Yeah,
him, there
okay,
is something
okay.
there.
It never got to me. I know Gary works for me, but it never got to
He's
me.
your registered agent, that's the only
Yeah, I
option
know
I
he is.
had. I mean,
Yeah.
I tried sending something directly to the bank, and it got returned back to me.
Could you give me a copy of those when we leave, or just mail them to me personally? I'd like to.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir, I'll gladly send, I can make copies and send them to you. I don't,
Thank
I don't know if you want copies.
That's fine, yeah.
Well, the point is, Mr. Dufresne, you know, a legal notice to a company goes to the registered agent.
I fully
So,
agree. Look, I'm not asking for any excuses, anything else.
Right.
I just say something broke down in the chain right here. And this, what you have on the agenda here, Danny Watts, I mean, he's just a real estate agent in Baton Rouge. He has nothing to do with this. He just,
But
that's
your
a-
registered agent did get it, so your bank didn't know about it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It never got to me. I don't know what happened.
Well,
And that's the person who filed the original application, that's the person we have on record at the file, and unless you notify us that somebody else is representing to you, we have no way of knowing that.
you know, that's your obligation, not ours.
Yeah,
So,
I don't respond.
Well,
to
and
that
at the same
guarantee.
time, I believe Lance indicated that he did speak to someone at another branch. And I'd have to question why, you know, why didn't it make it back to you?
If I'd have got these notices, I'd have jumped fast.
Okay, Lance, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I put in the file, and I had the file. On 7/28 of '08, I spoke to Mr. Graylin Myers. I know he doesn't work with you anymore, but at the time he did, and gave him a heads up on the situation. I forwarded the information to Mr. Brandt at that time, and called him and forwarded the information in reference to the historical site, so I emailed him. And also on 4/13, that's when I spoke to the office manager at the bank in Prairieville, and I stated that I'll be putting this on the agenda, and to give the commission an update. She stated she would have Mr. Brant Dufresne call me, and he has called me, but not during this time. And then I also have on March 11th, which was probably March 11th, I sent information also to Mr. Brant in reference to this.
Okay, clarify something you just said. You said Mr. Brant Dufresne. Now, this is Mr. Dufresne, but your first name is not Brant.
Yes, ma'am.
So all these did go to you.
Evidently, and I was going through chemotherapy at the time also, so I might have overlooked a lot of things.
Okay. Well, I know we all want to see something done. I don't know that any of us want to shut down a bank, shut down a business. I'd like to see a plan myself, a plan of how to move forward.
I guess that's where I was headed. I mean, I think we've made a decision. We've turned it over to enforcement. We've said, deal with this, the permit's over. We concluded that. And I think if we're going to contemplate, allowing them, I think they need to initiate an application and come up with a game plan, a timeline, something that we can work with. I'm not saying they gotta physically remove it tomorrow. I'm just saying, I think the burden's on their side. They need to start with an application. Because this chapter was closed when we said, permit's done, go have them remove it.
Can
But
we
it-
dress up the front to comply with the historic zone?
I think
Well,
that's-
but
It's still a temporary building, and the permit was granted for a 2-year period. We're past that.
Okay.
But at the same time, there was a plan, the original plan that they came to us with. Even if they put a temporary building, there was still other things that could have been done on the site, cleaning up the site and landscaping and the other things that we were promised was going to take place. That all still could have been done,
I agree
and
with
nothing
that.
was done.
Yeah,
I
I
agree
think-
with that, but if a federal regulator tells you you can't do anything, if they shut you down, there's nothing you can do.
I don't think but we're also talking about over a 2-year time period.
Yeah, that last part was probably fairly recent, not a year ago or 2 years ago.
I would say, Mr. Dufresne, that what you need to do is put your team together and come up with a plan. I think Mr. Marchand brings up some very good points, that there were some things that were in the original plan that you could do, that could have maybe, maybe gotten you some more time. I think Commissioner Slyman brings up a good point. I think we're just looking for a plan. What are you gonna do? When are you gonna do it? What are the hiccups? And most importantly, something in the record, something that supports, the dilemma that you've got of why you couldn't comply with the requirements, so that we can evaluate it and act on it accordingly.
Okay.
But right
And
now,
it needs to be in writing.
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
of course.
right now, it's a fait accompli. I mean, the permit's gone, it's done, and it's in enforcement. And I think, the sooner you get an application into the parish, the sooner the process begins, and we can go through it and bring it back before us with a plan for us to evaluate and consider. At least, I'm just giving you my thoughts. And I think if, it's some of the things that you're hearing from Commissioner Marchand and Commissioner Slyman as well.
All right.
But are we going to give him a certain amount of time to do this, or are we
Well,
going to just?
I think we need-
I think we need a time. I think we need a timeline.
He's under enforcement action to remove it. So it's upon him. If he wants to stop that, he's got to get it in. If he chooses not to come in, it's, that enforcement action is going to
Okay.
continue.
Okay.
And the only, I'm worried that we're setting a precedent, this permit has been expired a long time, and if we allow him to continue to lapse, we're setting a precedent down the road. Well, if the next guy that's got a Burger King, does the same thing, where does it end?
That's a very good point. That's why I made it very clear, just my statements are that he's in enforcement action. We're proceeding with the requirement that he remove it, right? So it's
Absolutely.
incumbent upon him to make an application, or else it's just going to continue.
Staff, when did the date start? Was it really this July 12th, 2006?
No, sir, I went through the permit, so with me, it looks like it was May.
Okay, so it was May of 2007 with the permit here?
Let's see, it was 2 years from the issuance of the, 2 years from issuance of the permit.
Okay, so 5/10/2007, so on 5/10/2009 it
That's
expired.
correct, that's when it expired, that's
Okay, so
correct.
that's been-
So, 2 months,
2 months.
Almost 2 months.
yes.
So he's 2 months out of compliance.
Right.
And so as far as enforcement goes, does anybody know, has anybody done anything in regards to enforcement? I mean, we can have a lot of
Just to know.
laws on the books, but if there's not enforcement, then stuff like this lingers for years.
I don't know about,
Got a letter from the district attorney.
Got a letter from the district, okay.
I think what the steps are, and we went through this last month, is first you send a notice, and then you see what, then depending on the response, you take the necessary action after that.
But do you give them a timeline to give you a response, or you just sit and you wait?
Usually we give them 30 days from receipt of the letter. He's within his 30 days ready to
Okay.
move forward. But now, with no plan of action, and you didn't grant anything, I can file suit tomorrow if you wanted me to, or we can give him whatever time period y'all want. I mean, that's, there's
And I think we give them a time
I
period.
think we need to
Next
give them a
meeting.
time period.
Then I think, Commissioner, you got a good point, we need to give them a time period.
Would 30 days be enough time, Tony, do you think,
Time period to do what?
To submit an
to
application.
submit an application and
I
a
don't know
plan?
how long that process takes through the other.
today's a deadline for
You're not going to make the next meeting.
Well, we need him to
60
submit a
days?
complete application. So, but he can do that. I mean, if.
Wait, application for what? Another temporary building, a
Is
permanent
60
building?
days enough?
With the plan,
We have a plan here from 2 years ago.
correct.
Uh,
He needs to modify based on the evidence he's
We already
provided.
started taking action to stop.
I'm sorry?
He said he already had a plan, but we already decided, the commission decided that we started legal action last meeting.
Right.
And that he wasn't in compliance and we weren't approving this plan, so he needs to submit a new one.
But originally, when this property first came before us, a plan was presented for the historical site
Right.
itself. So there, But later on, they came back requesting to put the temporary building. Now, the commission has still approved the original plan. So there is, part of that could still be utilized. We just are talking about giving him enough time to get all of his ducks in a row to come back before us and explain to us what they need to do and what we, and,
And how quick they can do it.
yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Well, I think we should, I'll take a stab at it and say that I make a motion for 60 days. He needs to come back, and so that is September meeting. Come back and let us know your time plan and what you plan to do.
And also, the information you said from the federal government about, we need to have all of that documented.
I can't document that because their letters and their correspondence say this is their property.
Just I think the important part is that you have an application.
Wait, but can you repeat that, please?
Okay.
Correspondence
So I
with
think-
regulators is their property.
Oh, the letters themselves are there.
I can't disclose it to anybody except directors.
You're talking about the letter
The
itself?
letter itself is a,
It's in a huge brief of all things that can't be done during this recession. And
So are they telling you to close the bank?
No, nothing like that, but they say in correspondence that this correspondence is property of the Comptroller of Currency.
Because since this temporary building was granted, there's been a new bank that's opened in this parish real close to this bank. And I mean, they built a facility. It's not a temporary facility.
I know, I'm aware of it.
Is there anyone you can get a statement from attesting to what you have told us on that?
I'll see if I can.
I mean, I don't need a,
I can
an actual letter that's already been submitted to you, but somebody to verify what you've told us as far as on a federal level.
I'll see what I can do. I can bring the part of the memorandum that says this is a possession. See, we are a national bank. We're not a state chartered bank.
Staff, if they submit an application by the 10th of August, will they be here for the September hearing? Okay, so
Yeah.
then, if I may, I'm gonna throw a stab at it, make a motion that the.
Is Paige's motion
I'm
is on the
sorry,
table?
Paige, I'm sorry.
I made a motion that they would come back in 60 days, so they have,
60
you'd
days would
have
cover
to,
for the
which
September
is,
meeting.
which is
The September meeting.
September meeting. By that time, you have to have a new application in to staff and a plan of action.
All right?
I second it.
Which-
You have questions, Julio?
I was gonna say, if you give them a deadline of when they submit the application.
If they don't make the
Make the September.
deadline, they don't
Well,
make the
they-
September,
okay.
and
All right, I'm just going
Is
through my
that-
head.
She's slating them for the September meeting, so to make that meeting, they have to have their
if
application
they
in
don't have
by
the
August
application
10th.
in, we're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a motion for a 60-day response, the request to get the application in and return back for the September meeting. Motion by Paige Becknell, seconded by Beverly Barre. Any opposition? Motion carries.
Ready. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Zoning Subcommittee report.
We're working on a couple of things, and one of the things that we're working on is, it's an issue that kind of raised setbacks. And in the process of working that, we discovered that very little work to do in the zoning code, but some work to do in the subdivision regulations. So we put a request and a recommendation to Commissioner Slyman's subcommittee and asked her to please look at it in their subcommittee so that we could both subcommittees can bring to their respective meetings a recommendation on the issue. Bottom line is the setbacks are not perfectly clear and consistent in both codes. And that's basically it. Next meeting is the last Friday of the month, as usual,
31st, I think.
whatever that date is here.
All right. Thank you. All right. So
Move.
we are moved to adjourn in second, so we are adjourned.